Arsenal's new sporting director holds important meeting to lay groundwork for Nico Williams' move. So we've seen Andrea Berta announce we're apparently holding a meeting with Nico Williams. If our tab police look away now, but we have previously heard, subsequently, as soon as Berta has been officially confirmed as Arsenal sporting director, David Ornstein said we're developing a strong interest in Victor Gyökeres, and apparently he's greatly admired and has been admired for a long time by Andrea Berta. I think I speak for every Arsenal fan when we need both quantity, so we need a bigger squad, especially in line with what we've heard about Gabriel Magalhaes and Timber, or better yet, what we saw and how we'll watch that develop. Our theme of our season, beyond the obvious, has been injuries, and we don't have a squad sustainable for 4 competitions for the vast majority of it. Even when you look at our whole squad, how many of those players are durable? Fair enough, Partey has been fit for the majority of this campaign, but you would probably expect, if in August, us Arsenal fans expect Partey to be absent at some point. Calafiori, based on what we know now, Tomiyasu for sure, Tierney for sure, Zinchenko for sure. And I'm not trying to get at these players, and there's also some others. So when you break it down, who is really going to be available for the vast majority of the season, bearing in mind, anyone can get injuries. Footballers getting injuries are like chefs cutting their hands. So we need quality. We need a striker, like you can see on screen, either him, Isaac, or whatever. We need a left winger. Big up Martinelli for an encouraging 90 minutes yesterday against Fulham. We need a central midfielder. Hopefully the Zubimendi stuff in terms of making his decision is great. I personally think we need to sort out our goalkeeper and a left back situation. So we need quality in our 11, stronger depth. Clearly we need to sort out the wage bill, and there's a lot to do. Now, obviously, most Arsenal fans are at the acceptance stage where the Premier League is concerned, hope for the Champions League, also acceptance where the League and FA Cup's concerned. We're trying to build momentum. It's always nice to win. It's lovely to welcome back Bukayo Saka. It's lovely after Edu leaving in November and us getting a new sporting director in March/April now. And the rumours, it's a feel-good factor sort of thing. But it's all fun and games having rumours. We need to get these things confirmed, people. But yeah, it's nice to be linked with Gyökeres. Hopefully we get that over the line. Arsenal's new sporting director holds important meeting to lay groundwork for Nico Williams' move. Andrea Berta was only appointed Arsenal sporting director a matter of days ago. However, he has wasted no time in getting to work on the new project. As per a report from Foot Mercato, he has already met with Atletico Bilbao winger Nico Williams' agent. Williams was heavily linked with a departure last summer following a strong Euro 2024 campaign with the Spain international team. What do you lot think? Would you lot take Nico Williams? Do you think we're going to get him? Smash the like button and don't forget to let me know your thoughts. Leave a comment, man. We're trying to get to 70k, people. Barca were intent on bringing the forward to the Camp Nou, whilst Paris Saint-Germain looked to reinforce their attack following Kylian Mbappe's departure last summer, were also in for the Spaniard. However, he ultimately remained with his formative club. This season, Williams has 9 goals and 7 assists in 37 games in all comps for Bilbao. It's been a start-stop kind of one. I do think he's had a post-Euros hangover. I do think of late he's finding his feet. I do think that he's not perfect. I do think he's an upgrade. Where you look at the numbers, rightly so, you can say, is he really that much of an upgrade on Martinelli and Trossard? But we all know, the higher echelons of players at this moment in time, the Isaacs, etc., either you pay the money or you F off. So then what do? You have to do something. You have to potentially target players that have the scope in the next year or the season they signed, that season or two, to become those players that we'd all want, really. All these guys that we wanted had to start somewhere. So you either buy them when they get to that big club or a club that's going to ask for a lot of money, or you intercept it before. Now, you'd imagine Edu and Jason Ito and Arteta and how transfers go. You'd imagine for a long time, not just Arsenal, but several clubs have spoken with Nico Williams' agent. We know he's on 200 odd grand a week. We all know one priority of Andrea Berta in this summer and summers moving forward is to really, peel back the layers and get us in a strong financial position. Obviously we are. We've seen the PSR results, but you know what I mean in terms of wages. I don't want to be that guy, but on currently you could, not that I don't think anyone deserves the money or doesn't, but Kai Havertz is on 200 plus grand a week. Very reactionary and recency bias, but Martin Odegaard is on 200 plus a week and he's not cutting the mustard there. Then you've obviously got the Zinchenko's, Gabriel Jesus, Tomiyasu's, which arguably, whether we believe in them or not, if you're not available and we have the same sort of talking points, maybe those resources can be poured anywhere. He's got a release clause of 50 odd million, as we know. if we really have been scouting him and he's a big fan, Arteta is a big fan of him, as we see with him, with Sesko, with Zubimendi, with Garcia, get it down the line. And the quicker we host these meetings and see if it's feasible, we can pivot and find another target. Keeping the powder dry and no players on the market and those kind of quote unquote excuses are not going to cut it for many an Arsenal fan moving into next season. So I'm all for it, people. It could be his final season in Northern Spain, which we've all been led to believe. He has spoken about, having his head somewhat turned in the summer by Barcelona and the prospect of not only playing for a massive club in Barcelona, but linking up with Yalmao. Equally, he did say he hopes to reach the Europa League final with Bilbao, and that'll be quite the send-off. Bearing in mind, it's a World Cup year next year. That's something to consider for everybody moving forward for next season. Footmakar understands that he continues to garner interest, not only from Barcelona, but also now from Bayern Munich and Arsenal. Arsenal's new sporting director, Berta, has even gone so far as to meet the player's agent ahead of a summer move. Now, meeting him don't mean we're signing him. It could just see his willingness, etc. But this is where you want to see Berta, quote-unquote, earn his chops. Simultaneously, Arsenal step up pursuit of La Liga goalkeeper as Gunners look to beat Barcelona to the signing of 13 million star. Joan Garcia has attracted interest from a number of top European clubs. Spanish goalkeeper could be sold for as little as 13 million if Espanyol are relegated. We all know he's got a release clause that either goes up or goes down depending on what he achieves at club and country level, and obviously relegation. The ITKs of this world are saying his bags were packed for a deadline day move. Now, I do wonder, at 23 years of age, being spoken about as potentially being a Spanish international sooner rather than later, playing first team football at Espanyol, how long is he going to be the second choice keeper, or how long until Arteta may have to make an opinion, or better yet, a decision on David Raya or Garcia, in which we'll have to revisit it. Obviously, he's got 7 years on Raya. So yeah, and he's linked with a number of clubs that have goalkeepers. Allegedly, Arsenal have stepped up their efforts to sign Garcia from Espanyol after further talks last week. Atletico Madrid, Bayern Leverkusen, and Barcelona have all expressed firm interest in the 23-year-old, but he has now shown a willingness to accept the challenge of competing for the number one slot at Arsenal with compatriot David Raya. So if we have put the groundworks to the Seskos, the Nico Williams, the Garcias, the Zubimendis, let's get over the line. Arsenal have long been on his trail, but a fee has still to be agreed. Espanyol are 2 points above the relegation zone, and it's understood, should they go down, Garcia's price would be around 13 million. You're a bad person. Make sure you smash the like button, because I know one of you just said, as you're listening to this, you hope they get relegated. However, should they stay up, the fee is around 22 million, and Arsenal are looking to find a middle ground. An Olympic gold medalist and former Spain under-21, Garcia has been outstanding this season, winning consecutive Save of the Month awards in La Liga, amid a series of man of the match displays. Can you say man of the match these days, or player of the match, people? I don't know. Arsenal's new sporting director, Berta, is well aware of Garcia's abilities and will make the final decision on how to proceed, something Edu struggled with. And even where I think last season, you look at someone like Mikel Moreno, who I think is a good squad player, but he had a year at 28 years of age, he had a year left on his deal. We gave Sociedad 30 odd, and we've put him on 130 grand a week. This is where we need Berta to earn his magic. I'm not saying he does or doesn't deserve it. From a player's point of view, that's a very important contract on top of, the most important move at this time in your career. But this is where we need to get better, because, as you know, it's hard to flog players in the best of days. It's hard to flog players that are on wages that they're probably lucky to be getting. We've been linked with Garcia before. We saw Berta was at the Fulham game. Obviously, he's there with Richard Garlick. Mikel Arteta has talked about his excitement over the prospect of Arsenal adding significant signings this summer, with Sporting Lisbon's Gyökeres and Real Sociedad midfielder Martin Zubimendi among those high on the list of targets. Arsenal midfielder Jorginho is expected to join Flamengo. Young forward Nathan Butler-Adeji is a target for Norwich City. And if I just skip ahead, people, because this, big up Saka for returning. We hope Timber and Gabriel Magalhaes are all right. But if we just skip back, Arteta said it's going to be a big one. It's going to be a big one in brackets summer. We are very excited about it, people. So we have to deliver. We want to increase the depth of the squad, but as well, we want to increase the quality and the skills we need to go to the next step. That's music to a lot of fans' ears, people. So yeah, to hear him specifically say he wants to increase the depth, certain qualities for me would mean a goal scorer, an upgrade, striker up front, upgrade on the left-hand side, and a central mid. And then that's the quality. And you also need quality and quantity. But now we need to marry the squad because we do not have enough bodies, people. So we'll have to see how that develops. But that's Garcia, that's Nico Williams. Keeping up the theme with Spain. Why is it a lot of flurry of Spanish kind of news and all of that? But allegedly, Martin Zubimendi would love to play for Real Madrid despite interest from Arsenal, according to a report in Spain. While Team Talk reveals the current state of play regarding the future of the Real Sociedad midfielder. We all know last summer he was close to leaving Sociedad and signing for Liverpool, bar a late change. We've heard for the last year or two, Arsenal have been laying the groundwork. I don't think anyone could begrudge him for wanting to A, stay in his homeland, B, signed for Real Madrid, especially with what they got going on there, which ironically we've got them next week. The Daily Mail reported in January that Arsenal are ready to trigger Zubimendi's release clause of 51 million in his contract at Sociedad and bring him to the Emirates Stadium in the summer transfer window. Now, last week and in the days that have been following, people, we've heard Spanish-based journalists, English-based journalists say Arsenal have confidence that Zubimendi will sign and the Real Madrid stuff is kind of nonsense. And you do hear when one player, like in Arsenal's case, Zubimendi's ever closer to signing for Arsenal, suddenly there's hijack talk. But for me, Real Madrid is Real Madrid. Until players are holding scarves, wearing Arsenal shirts, saying I grew up watching several of our previous legends and things of that ilk, who knows, people? Apparently, the deal was virtually completed, according to a report, but then Madrid took a shine to Zubimendi. There had been speculation Real Madrid had already made contact over Zubimendi, and a new report in Spain has revealed that the midfielder himself is keen on a move to the Santiago Bernabeu. According to Defensa Central, although Real Madrid have not made a final decision on Zubimendi, the midfielder himself would be delighted to wear the jersey of the best team in the world and compete for all major honours, even though he's happy at Real Sociedad. Seems like such a long time ago. You kind of heard this long language with Zubimendi going over to Barcelona, people. If it were up to the Spain international, he would sign for Real Madrid, according to a report, which added that making football history is something he's very excited about. Defensa Central, has noted that Arsenal are the club that is the most eager to sign Zubimendi because manager Mikel Arteta is passionate about his style of football and believes he would fit in well with his project. Now, if Zubimendi's the guy, go and get him. Equally, though, I'd say please make sure we have the ability to pivot. Arsenal cautiously optimistic of the Zubimendi signing. Apparently, Madrid have had informal talks with Zubimendi, told him of their interest. Ben Jacobs, which I would feel a lot better if, the Fabrizio Romanos and the David Ornsteins were speaking on this, has said, people, that Arsenal are cautiously optimistic. It is true that a broad set of personal terms have been verbally agreed up front in terms of wages and bonus structure, so they've made progress on that front. But forgive me for my naiveties as an armchair expert, you need to agree a fee with Sociedad, people. And where you look at Garcia, Nico Williams, Zubimendi in particular, and even Gyökeres, who we've been linked with, they've all got release clauses in their contracts. Now, Gyökeres is an extreme case because it goes as high as 85 to 100 odd million quid, depending on where you read. And then you also, with him, see that they're apparently 50 to 58.5 million is the ballpark. Now, if we just keep the thought of release clauses and also smash the like button, are we going for these players? Obviously, because we believe they can bring something to the table and they're all good players in their own right. And you could throw Sesko into this. Is it because there's release clauses? So we've got a ballpark figure and then we agree the terms in a way that's more favorable. Like someone might be available for 50 million, exaggeration, but we'll give you 51 million if you let us pay more favorably and stretch out the payments, people. It's a pivotal summer. Now, admittedly, I do believe that, but my patience is thin because all the stuff we are saying, have said going into this summer, it should have been last year, innit? So for me, it's time to show. It's one thing saying be excited, getting someone with the pedigree of Berta, being linked with these guys, knowing the evident areas we need to improve. Clearly, we're going to give new contracts to certain players and get rid of players, but the doing is it. Talk is cheap, doing's expensive, people. I mean, Gyökeres seems to be the one that we're getting if you believe this week's reports. But Arsenal, Newcastle, Chelsea and Man United are all in the race to sign Vlahovic, with the 25-year-old set to leave Juventus this summer. Now, I don't know whether we should buy into that. And also, Arsenal, Newcastle, Nottingham Forest are among the clubs interested in Roma defender Ivan Ndika, who is rated at over 32.5 million. Now, admittedly, I think a priority has to be a number 9, has to be a winger that can play on the right-hand side if Saka's not there and compete. Obviously, we got Ethan as well, but primarily off the left, need a central midfielder. They're my priorities. I think we need a goalkeeper or two. If Garcia is the number 2 you want, great. You got him and Raya. Can you go and find me like a Scott Carsey, Dan Bentley kind of one? Someone that's on the other, for want of better phrases, the wrong side of 30. He knows he's third choice, maybe helps us with homegrown rulings. I would like a left back personally. I think we're kind of weak there with MLS and with Miles Lewis Skelly and Calafiori through no fault of their own. I just feel they're the two you expect to see next season. Speculation runs wild around Kivior, around Tini's going Celtic, but Kivior, Tomiyasu, Zini, who knows what's going on there. I do think there's scope for a better left-sided centre-half. I would love Hato because he can play left-back as well as left centre-half. That the drop-off when you're missing a Gabriel Magalhaes isn't too big. You could make a case that we need a right-sided centre-half because we should be in a scenario where, especially in the Cups or when we've gone through to the next round in the Champs, where we can look to rest certain players' legs. And if there was one area us Arsenal fans were confident about, generally it's our defensive ranks. And that's been stress-tested. Like, who hasn't been injured? Timber's been injured. Ben White's been injured. Gabriel's been injured. Saliba's been injured. Lewis Skelly been, and some of these men have been ever present, but they've been injured. He's been injured. Zini's defo been injured. Calafiori's defo been injured. Tomiyasu, unfortunately, is the poster boy of injuries. So thank the Lord for our defensive depth, but we need to have more players, you know, because at the end of the day, we need to get better at rotation. We need to get better at having, you know, Arteta trust in his players. The fixture calendar list isn't going anywhere. Like, there's a wider discussion, as I keep saying, with, you know, player welfare and that. But at the end of the day, club competitions are only expanding. Country competitions are only expanding. We're seeing the Club World Cup, the World Cup, the Euros have or potentially being spoken about as expanding. Champions League, there's been expansion. There's very little rest. So if we can't go against the establishment and the system, then we need to look after our depth people. So only God knows, man. But there's a lot of work to be done.
I think it's like